welcome to Jesus for Asia Now. I'm Natalie Wood, and today I've got a special guest with me that's working in Asia, and he's got some amazing stories about what God is doing there. So I'd like you to welcome with me Elder Eugene Prewitt. Welcome to the show, Eugene.
Thank you, Natalie.
So glad you could be here.
I'm glad to be here too, even though we're not in Asia at the moment.
No, we're not. But that's okay because we have stories from Asia, right? Now, you and your lovely wife, Heidi, are working. Where are you working and what are you doing?
So we're planted in Southeast Asia, which is a term for Myanmar and Thailand, Malaysia, Brunei, Indonesia, Laos, Cambodia, Vietnam. We're in that region, central there in training missionaries.
Okay, so you have a training center there.
We do.
Okay. So Eugene, do you have any stories for us today?
I'm always full of stories, and let me just tell you one that was interesting to me. I live at a health center on a mountain full of monkeys. We have an orchard there. We planted 2,000 banana trees recently.
Wow.
And one day in that cafeteria, I was watching a troop of monkeys moving across the ground. You know, when monkeys move in the ground, they go single file, kind of equidistant from each other. And they were moving from our banana orchard right to the jungle. So you know they have full bellies, right? So I'm watching them there. I'm eating, they're done eating. And I saw one that was behind all the rest. He was slow. He wasn't paying attention. He reminds you of those 5 foolish virgins in Matthew 25. And there came a point when most of the monkeys were up in the tree and he was still only halfway to the jungle when one of our big dogs came around the corner of our health center. His name is Jackie. It's a he with a girl's name. Jackie is a black dog that loves to chew monkeys. And when he saw the monkey on the ground, he began to run. He was so excited. He wasn't barking. He wasn't growling. And that poor monkey wasn't paying attention, so it didn't know what was happening. By the time the monkey saw Jackie, it was too late. And that dog just bit into that monkey. Well, I thought I was going to see a monkey die, and that's when I saw something interesting. I saw Jackie look up in the jungle tree in front of him, and when he did that, I looked up too. And what I saw there was every monkey in that tree was coming down quickly. And as soon as Jackie saw them coming, he let go of that monkey, he turned and he ran away. I've thought about that so many times, Natalie. I've thought, the monkeys, they have it together better than we do. You think about local churches. Let's say that someone in that church ends up getting pregnant or making a big mistake or, you know, something goes wrong there. I imagine those monkeys in that tree, imagine if they were just sitting there saying, uh-oh, look, the dog is coming. That monkey is so slow. What's wrong with him? Why isn't he up here? I'm so glad we're in the tree. It's safe up here in the tree. I don't want to look. It's going to be bad. You know, if the monkeys had talked that way, certainly that monkey that made the mistake would have died. And I've thought about us. Here we are, members of Christ's body, and when someone makes a mistake, it's so easy for us to talk to each other in the tree. Did you hear about? Did you see? Do you know what's going on? I can't believe the mistake he made. How could he do that? What was she thinking? But that doesn't save a monkey. If we would get out of our tree, I think that we could be missionaries right here in our local churches, just as we are missionaries there in Southeast Asia.
That's a powerful picture, to care for our fellow men like that. Yeah. Wow.
I was walking in Indonesia a few weeks ago. That's not where our training center is, but we're opening a new branch there. And so I was walking there when a motorcycle stopped beside me. And my wife Heidi was with me. We walked together early in the morning. The man was named Aub. He is still named Aub, and he asked me, where are you going? Asia doesn't have as much privacy as North America, and people seem to feel like they deserve to know whatever it is you might have that you could tell them. And so I didn't have any secrets, but I also wasn't heading anywhere. I was walking for exercise. I said, we're going that way. He said, where? That way. And he asked us to stop at his house. We did. And this is what I discovered. I found that 7 years ago, Aub was a searching man. He became very dissatisfied with Islam. That was the religion of his parents. He became irritated because a mosque was built and it encroached on his property, and he felt like that was thievery, and it just bothered him so much. And when he began searching to find the truth, he first visited a Protestant church, and then a Catholic church, and then a Hindu temple, and finally, well, it was a Buddhist temple before the Hindu temple. He ended at the Hindu temple because that's where he had some interaction that was supernatural. And so today, Aub, at least 3 weeks ago, he self-identified as a Hindu. And this is what I was thinking, Natalie. I was thinking, what a tragedy that 7 years ago we weren't there. If we had been there 7 years ago, God would have led Aub to us. We would have had light for him. We could have solved that perplexity that bothered him so much. But now it's going to be an uphill struggle because he's had 7 years of supernatural experiences with spiritualism. And his daughter, she's kind of stuck between two. You know, she goes to the mosque on Friday with her mom and then goes to the Hindu temple with her dad whenever they're having festivals. And I asked her, what do you think? Do you think your dad's right or your mom's right, or is it confusing? She said to me, it's confusing. And Natalie, what I did is I sat down with her and later with her dad, and I went through Daniel 2, Daniel 7, Daniel 8, Daniel 9, and I showed her evidence that the Bible is a source of light and truth. They were so thankful. Aub said to me, God arranged for you to meet me. And I'm sure of that.
Yes.
But why 7 years late?
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to establish little training centers all over Southeast Asia. We've been training missionaries now to go and start those. One will be starting in January, another started 3 months ago. We're looking to do one in Thailand maybe in the next 12 months. This is what we're aiming at, to get these little schools everywhere to be lights in their community.
To get trained people out there to meet people like Aub.
When you talk about trained people, let me just preach at you for a minute if you don't mind.
Okay.
I know that there was a time in my life when I envisioned North American Adventists as being the educated ones. We know about the sanctuary, we know about the Day of Atonement, we know about 1844, we know about Ellen
All
White,
the doctrine,
and we have her books. They fill up 1.5 shelves on our bookshelf. I thought about people in a lot of other places as kind of a step below in terms of knowledge of doctrine. Not our students in our mission training program. They know more than our theologians. They can sit down and give a Bible study on the mark of the beast and the seal of God using just a Bible and prove their point well. These are young people who understand really what's going on. And when they're doing mission work, they're not just trying to bring people up from Hinduism to knowing that the seventh day is a worship day. They're aiming for the full message. They want them to know the three messages, the three angels' messages well enough to teach them to themselves become teachers. That's what training is doing in Southeast Asia.
Well, praise the Lord.
Amen.
And introducing them to Jesus,
Yeah.
who's the reason for all the doctrines and the reason for all the knowledge.
Jesus has made room for himself in Asia. You know, Buddhists respect Jesus, and Hindus respect Jesus, and Muslims respect Jesus. What they don't know is power. So it's interesting, both Buddhism and Islam, those are the two major religions in the areas where I work, Buddhism and Islam. Both of those religions would say you're better off not to smoke. And yet when you travel around those regions and you see the men, almost to a man sometimes, are smoking. Think about that. The religion says don't, but the people do. So when I sat down with Aub, for example, and with someone else in his community, I used that point. I said, listen, our religions on the surface looks somewhat similar. Jesus says it's best not to smoke. Muhammad says you shouldn't smoke. Buddha says you shouldn't smoke. But they look somewhat similar. But a big difference is our religion has power in it. That's why these students you're meeting, they don't smoke. They've quit, the ones that used to. There's power there. Aub told me he was going to try using this religion. He was going to try Jesus because Hinduism wasn't doing it for him. At least not that one thing, victory over sin. Yeah, Jesus has given us not just theories that compete with theories, but he's given us power and love that has no just competition. There really isn't anything like it. And where it has a chance to show itself, there's power there. Forgive me, Natalie, for talking too much, but it's...
That's all right. That's all right. It's a interesting education. It's good to apply and see the differences in culture and see the differences in the religions.
Can I tell you about some of the things that we're trying to do? Because
Yes,
I'm telling you stories,
yes, please do.
The largest country in Southeast Asia by far is Indonesia. If you take the populations of the other countries and put them together, it's going to be similar to Indonesia by itself. And the way it works in Southeast Asia is they have a pretty free travel between those countries, but usually it comes with a 30-day visit, 30 or 60, and that's not long enough for the kind of education that we need to do in our day and age. So we really need schools in all these places. We found a piece of property in the island called Sulawesi. We've purchased that property, and now we need to build a campus there for a new school. We need to build staff houses. They cost about $25,000 each.
Wow.
That same house here in Chattanooga area would probably cost $130,000.
Oh,
Same
wow.
quality, although they're not using so much wood, because why would you use wood when there's so much rain and termites? But anyway, good quality, solid buildings. We need to build dorms for like 30 to 35 students per dorm. That's about $150,000. We need to raise that kind of money. And we're going to be opening that maybe as early as this January it's not the, I almost said the garage, but it's not a garage, it's the downstairs of someone who has a home there. But we don't want to stay in a facility that's for 5 people. We want to be able to have enough room for 30, 60, 90 students.
Okay.
Then we want to start also something for the Thai people of Thailand.
Okay.
When people are doing mission work in Thailand, and there's a lot of mission work going on in Thailand, but a lot of that mission work is for non-Thai people, the Karen people, for example. They're along the border with Myanmar.
Yes.
And there are a lot of Adventists in Thailand, but most of them are Filipinos. So we want to do something to teach Thai people to work with Thai people, to raise up that kind of courageous missionary activity that we're doing right now. And it's important to me that we raise up some money for our refugees that are being trained, because the refugees in some countries don't have freedom to go door to door. One of my students named Kai last year was going door to door when policemen stopped him. They put him in a car, drove him out into the countryside. They beat him up. They took his phone and all his money, and they left him there in the middle of the jungle, not knowing where he was, no way to contact anyone.
Wow.
That's the way that some countries harass. They harass their refugees, hoping the word will prevent people from trying to come. You know, what we're doing at the border to kind of discourage people coming, but we're not the only country trying to discourage people coming. But beating people up is a little worse. And, well, I don't mean to say what's worse, but it's bad enough. So Kai experienced that. What I would like to do is to have funds so that Kai and those like him can work on campus at our health center, doing a work that won't put them in danger of life and limb, while their fellow students are out doing that work door to door, not facing that same kind of issue.
Yeah.
And I don't need to raise any money for the operations of our schools. Our schools fund themselves through the call porter work.
Wow,
but
praise
one
the
thing
Lord.
we do need to do is to raise some money for translation and printing of books. Natalie, I'm careful with money, so I raised money last year to translate and to print The Great Controversy and Ministry of Healing. I've printed those now in English and Chinese, and I'll never need to raise money for that again. Because when we sell them, we make sure we keep enough margin so that if we printed 3,000 the first time, we'll have money to print 5,000 the next time, and then 7, and then 10. So I only have to raise money for the first printing. And so I want to raise some more money to print in Thai and to print in Indonesian and to print some more in Malay. But once we get those first funds, we manage that money so that our schools can operate purely on the basis of the call porter work.
Okay.
And there's a special project that might sound so strange to people who have a hard time to understand it, but there are completely unentered cities in Southeast Asia, cities where just no one is doing anything. Well, when we want to go and work, if we're going to a city that has Adventist, maybe we can stay in their house. Maybe we can stay in the church. But what if we're going to a city that has nothing? Well,
Then
now
you're gonna
this
stay
this
somewhere.
this company Airbnb that's kind of famous here in North America, it exists in Asia now, and we experimented with this just a few months ago. We went into a city of 125,000 people, no Adventist presence. We rented a house there for 3 weeks and were able to visit every business and most of the homes in that city.
Wow.
But it cost some money. That cost about $1,000 to do that. Because we weren't renting a little home. It had to be a home for 20 people. You know?
Right.
And so we want to raise some money for that too, to help us enter brand new areas, to rent facilities. I found out that in towns that aren't as rich as that one, we could probably rent a similar size facility for $300 or $400. It was because of its industrial center that made it more pricey. So you know this, but let me say it to those who are watching. If you give money to our program with Jesus for Asia, you could find Eugene Prewitt, Southeast Asia, you'd find it there. If you do that, please would you specify what you're giving for?
Yes.
I want to know, is this for Airbnb houses for new areas? Is this for refugee support? Is this to build staff homes in Sulawesi or to build a dormitory there? Is this because you want to help us start new work in Thailand? Is this to help Joshua whenever we get something going in Myanmar up in his area? Would you please tell us? Don't say it's for the operation of the schools. We don't need that.
Right.
That's our colporteuring. But if it's for translation, we want to know.
Yes, for sure. Well, that's good to know. And it's good to reiterate that because it really does help to know where it's supposed to go.
Amen.
Okay, so you've shared a few stories. Do you have some more?
I have so many.
Okay, we've got a few more minutes. I think
So-
we've got time for one more.
Again, when I was in Indonesia just recently, I was walking on another road when I saw a man who I thought he had that look of someone I want to talk to. He was an older man, he had white hair, a white beard, and he had the wrinkled working face, and he was a farmer, and he was in his garden. And I just know farming is good for the character. Farming makes good people. So I tried to talk to him, and
You didn't speak
Natalie?
his language.
I'm trying to learn Malay right now, but at that point I knew about 300 words, and you need about 8,000 to communicate well, and it was not happening. And he didn't know English, and so we could just say hi, that's similar in both languages, and that was it. I couldn't talk to him. But on my last weekend there, one of the young ladies that was studying at our school, she wanted to talk to Heidi and I about some personal issue. And so we went on a long walk with her, and I always take my wife with me when I talk to girls about personal issues. And so we had a good talk, but there came a point when I thought, we've said as much as we can usefully say. The rest of this is just, it's time to turn around. We turned around. And on the way back, there wasn't as much to say. And that's when I noticed Noble Farmer beside the road. And God reminded me, this young lady knows Indonesian. I said, sister, would you help me out for a minute? And she did. And now Noble Farmer and I could talk. He invited us into his home.
Oh, nice.
He gave us water from his fountain. We pray that it was good for us. And we ended up talking to him and his wife and his granddaughter that was right there. Excuse me, his wife and daughter and granddaughter. His wife is quite ill. She wasn't there. And as we talked to them, I found out that his smoking habit, he even smokes indoors with the children. Now, here in America, I don't think many people do that, would smoke inside the home of children. Somehow that strikes us as cruel and unusual treatment of children. But there I found many men who, even though they seem to know that, it doesn't stop them. They're right in there smoking with the kids all around the place. And I began to talk to him and ask him would he like to quit. He said the same thing Aub had said. He said, I would love to quit. I can't do it. He said, my son would like to quit. My son-in-law would like to quit. And I asked if I could arrange to have a stop smoking seminar right here in your living room. If I could arrange that, would you be willing to host that? He was so ready to do it. He was excited about that maybe he could learn to quit. And so I don't know if it's been done yet, because as soon as I left, those students went on a canvassing campaign. But somehow when they get back, they're going to be doing a stop smoking seminar in his home for him, his son-in-law. And of course, that's going to open their eyes to these noble farmers. They're going to see, here's a power, here's a savior, not just a savior from a hereafter, but a savior from a here and now, from sin that controls and enslaves. I'm glad for that.
Yes. That'll be a blessing. We'll have to look forward to hearing an update on that story.
Courage is what makes, I don't say courage makes a Christian, Natalie, but it shows one. I really don't believe in this weak, sloppy, messy, fake Christianity that is just afraid of persecution. I don't see how you can be a real believer and be afraid of death. You might not know, but in the country where I'm living right now, it happened in 2017 that 3 of the most prominent missionaries there, none of them were Adventist, 3 of the most prominent missionaries there were kidnapped, 2 of them publicly, and they haven't been seen since. No one knows where they are, but many people suppose that they've been killed. And that kind of experience is enough to petrify fake Christianity. But it didn't petrify anyone in the book of Acts. In the book of Acts, when Paul gets beat up and left for dead, as soon as he wakes up, he gets back to work. There's none of this idea that we have to protect our skin somehow.
Yeah, comfort.
Yeah.
So do you have any other projects or stories that you want to share with us?
I do, and I'm kind of nervous about this one, Natalie, but I'm going to tell you, if there's any obstacle between us and finishing the work on earth, it is the Muslims of this planet. They are good people, many of them, but they don't know the 3 angels' messages. And frankly, there's danger in giving it to them. That's the way it is. So I have students right now that have spent jail time, for example, in Brunei, and I have one that right now is in Iran, and I have others that are working in Lebanon, and some that were in Egypt recently, and Malaysia also. I have them working in these countries. And I and a friend of mine, Christopher Crump, came up with a project 3 years ago that it was to write a series of Bible studies that would introduce a Muslim to the prophets that he's heard about all his life. Jesus and Moses and Solomon and David, the whole bunch of them, Isaiah and a few others that he doesn't know, he hasn't heard of, but especially Daniel, starting with Daniel. I wrote a series of Bible studies that take them from the prophet Daniel and Moses, and over time builds them all the way to knowing all 3 of the angels' messages, the 3 angels' messages. It's done in sections so that when they finish one section, they can take a test, and when they pass the test, they can take the next section. And then the next test, so no one can jump ahead and see what's coming. So for the first 2 sections, they would have no idea that what they're getting to might not be something by someone who believes very much like them. They just wouldn't know, although we never use the Quran in our lessons. I'm not a Muslim. I don't feel I should use the Quran. I'm using prophets they've heard about the whole time. So we wrote this series, and now we're having it translated into the languages of the world. Farsi, Indonesian, Malay, other languages. We need to raise money for translation, and then also to hire individuals who are going to be doing follow-up work in those countries. That's going to be some of the most dangerous work anyone has ever done, to follow up on those studies.
Wow. Yeah.
And so our very first contact like that, I flew to his place in Sabah last year. I bought a ticket, flew to meet him, and for all I knew, he might be a radical person posing as a convert. Well, he wasn't. He's a convert. His name is Roji. And Roji, his wife has left him. He's lost his job over the Sabbath. He's ended up suffering a great deal of resentment and rejection in his home area. But he is faithfully reading his Bible every day. And in just a few weeks, he's going to join our group in Indonesia who are studying to be missionaries. He's older, but he's going to join them and learn how to work. We're going to have maybe hundreds of Rojis in the future. But what we need is money for translation, money to hire follow-up, and then how much money do we need for this third thing? There's no way to say how much. It's advertising money. So when we advertise, we're paying per click. That means if one interested person clicks on it, we'll pay a few cents. If 10 click, we might pay 40 cents. We're going to pay per click. And if we have $2, we'll advertise for 20 clicks. And if we have $2,000, then we'll get 20,000 clicks. And if we have $2 million, then we'll get 20 million clicks. I mean that we will use every dollar we get for that to advertise in these countries to let people find the truth. We're going to have these videos. We're recording videos in Germany. We're obscuring the face of the presenters who are doing the translation. So the Bible stories are going to be written, but have a video beside it. Most people will watch the video. Then they can get the transcript if they want it. After the video, they'll take the test. They'll have the questions. The video is going to be in English and their own language. It's a large project that can be operated in many places at once. And because it's hosted out of Germany, it can't be shut down. And so we have volunteer labor. The programming is done. The URLs have been purchased. We've done the writing. We already have people who are ready to fly there and make the videos. All we're needing now is to get some money for the translation and some money for advertising. And if no one gives us a penny, we're going to do it anyway. But boy, the more we get, the more we're going to do.
Right. Wow, that sounds like a powerful tool.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, Eugene, I'm sure you have more stories to share, and I'm sure we could continue probably the rest of the day with what you've learned over there, what you've seen, what your students have learned and seen.
Even if it was only stories that are ongoing, we could talk for hours.
Yeah.
We don't need to go back. We can talk about right now.
Wow. Well, I just praise the Lord because you're out there and you're working and you're giving Christ to these people, to your students. The need is huge. Thank you so much, Eugene, for joining us and for sharing this opportunity, all these opportunities, and this burden with us and with our viewers. And I want to invite you to be a part of God's work. Ask Him how He would like you to be involved. There's a lot of opportunity out there. There's opportunity where you live to support your fellow men and encourage them and learn from these monkeys, that story we heard at the beginning of the show. And also you can learn from the example of the other stories Eugene has shared. Be brave, be courageous for God. Don't be afraid to share Him with our fellow men wherever we are. And He might send us to the other side of the world, but if He does, He's right there, and He will help us to reach out to those, even those that we can't speak to at first. He'll provide a way for us to speak to them. If you would like to be a part of this work, you can send your tax-deductible love gift to Jesus for Asia, P.O. Box 1221, Collegedale, Tennessee 37315. Call us at 423-413-7321 or visit our website at jesusforasia.org. May God richly bless you until we see you next time on Jesus for Asia Now.